getting a little bit more active. There's +2 coming. I think a timing push should happen around that time. Second starport coming down. How many tanks is this? Ooh, you know, like, anytime I look at some unit composition, I think what would be the obvious vulnerability here, and obviously it's going to be Zerglings or Hydralisks. Hydralisks are going to be a little bit harder to bust in there with all those tanks, but there's really not that many Hellions. It's a little bit too tank heavy. But fortunately, Dimaga has all roaches in this mix, which is okay. Now, one thing I do want to point out, if you're in this situation as Zerg, a lot of times people will just look here. Now, we're going to watch this battle. This is what normally happens when people are watching the replay. They watch the battle. Oh my god, I see infested Terrans. Oh, that's so cool. How's it going to work? Oh, I sure hope it works well for Dimaga, because you know what? That would just be cool. Alright. Oh, it didn't work well for Dimaga. And then people look at this and they go, huh, now how the hell was Dimaga supposed to kill that? I guess it's because Mech is imbalanced. No, very, very bad. Bad Artosis. So we're going to go ahead and hit our B button a couple times, and let's get right about here. Right before this attack happened, remember how I came up here and I checked this armory, and it looks like right before the battle, the Mech statue always goes down. I'm thinking, this looks vulnerable. Look at this left side of the map. Nothing stopping Zerg from wandering up there. Why not build a Nydus Worm here and just put an exit right here? Oh, cool, then I can actually come up here and attack this and still whip around and defend, and I can exploit the mobility. Where's the Nydus Worm up here? Where's just a regular walking attack up there, as this roach is starting to discover? Because really, tanks, sure, if they get in a good position, they're a little bit hard to hit. I also want you to note that this is perhaps the worst angle possible to attack. This is a just obvious kill zone. There's tons of splash damage happening there. The roach is not even really getting up to the tank. I mean, it looks like the infestor is just kind of being played with. For any of you who are confused as, oh my god, why is he throwing down so many infested Terrans? These have actually recently been used a lot by Zerg players to great effectiveness. I'll address that a little bit afterwards, because I'm certain people will ask after the game why he did that. But wow, that seemed to get killed. It seemed to get just evaporated, and really, Terran should have waited a little bit longer before he did this. Just a teensy bit longer. It was sort of coincidental that Zerg moved right in there. But basically, you need to wait a long time for to be able to do big attacks with Mech. And even then, notice how Painuser is attacking. This is the correct way to attack with Mech. Get into a good position and don't overreact. Don't force the issue. Now, if this were a Marine Marauder army, I'd be like, oh yeah, Painuser, just sprint up here, stim this, kill this, start sprinting away. But look at this, so careful, leapfrogging the tanks. Notice how most of them are still sieged. These ones are trying to tuck back in here before they siege up. Some nice, cool, infested Terran usage. Bad idea by Dimaga to attack, because this is already dead. There's no reason to try to pinch this off unless you're positive you can kill it. So, of course, doesn't it backing off? God, this still feels so vulnerable! I always think Mutalists are at least useful to get at some point against that. Force a few Thors into that mix. And of course, Mutalists aren't particularly bad against Thors either. And I actually do mean that literally. Ultralisks, good, but very, very late. Dimaga still expanding, and Dimaga actually not that far behind. Dimaga was quite way ahead earlier in the food count. And see, here's the thing. This is what is really strong, is when you catch a Terran player unsieged. That's why you want to be hitting a lot of places at once so you can get up to those tanks. If tanks are sieged, just back away, man. No reason to. Also, big upgrades on the on this attack, but you know, I'm starting to be still a little bit more leaning towards the melee units, just because, you know, we get the Ultralists. Look at that. They already do 40 damage versus armor, and you can boost that way up into the 50s with the upgrades. So just looking around, I mean, at this point, okay, cool. Let's just do our good old pause and sort of think about things. Well, it looks like still same production capacity for Painuser. Way too much money. Need to build more factories. Not in bad shape, but how can he be in better shape? Ooh, no turrets here. That's a vulnerability. It's okay to be naive here, to be like, no turrets. That could be dangerous. Don't say it is dangerous. Don't say he needs turrets, but something to be aware of. Can Zerg just suddenly get some Mutalisks and do some damage? Wait a minute. Well, it doesn't look like the main's very vulnerable. You got turrets all over the place here. But other than that, oh no, this expansion's really vulnerable. There's almost no air here. Yeah, maybe some Mutalisk would be a little bit more useful to incorporate. Oh, there's a battlecruiser, which is of course always good because it's a freaking battlecruiser. But yeah, looking around here, I don't mind that there's not gas being mined at these locations. Oh, yep, there's the chitinous plating, which I only recently learned how to pronounce. Still not a lot of creep. Why is there not creep spread all over the place? Creep tumors are a little bit more dangerous if the army's really mobile, because you can scan and kill them off, but against an immobile army? Ugh, gross. Oh my god. And really, you're hearing me do a lot of, just like, oh yeah, I think this is how you should deal with Mech, here are some good and some bad things, but really, I just want to point out that what Painuser's doing, very slow, very passive, is the right way to play Mech for any of you who have been trying to experiment with it. Here come the Ultralists, of course, they're getting one-shotted with relative ease, and of course the Battlecruiser in there. Easy cleanup, and of course Dimaga says GG. Now, what's always so funny is that, like, I'm actually just going to change it back to this state right before the good game. Look at this army coming up. Now, if you looked at the minimap, just look at this, you would go, oh my god, Dimaga has 5 bases, and Terran doesn't even have this one landed. Oh man, yeah, Dimaga, you're in good shape, And anytime you start seeing these kinds of trends, you should kind of trust that and think, well, what's going wrong? Well, I guess being aggressive at these bad angles. Look how some of these are kind of up against the high ground. Notice how all these are in like a big clump. And then when you open up this food count, you're kind of like, oh, well, it still is kind of close, but there's no reason that Dimaga has to attack this now. And really, Dimaga never crossed this line the entire game, never went beyond this highway. A little bit lacking there in terms of the aggression. And of course, many things are dying, and our poor Russian superhero friend Dimaga ends up just departing the game. I do think he still could have had pretty decent chances to stay alive, but there's a few other things I want to note about this Mech game by Painuser. This transition to Battlecruiser is very, very, very good. I think you can begin enacting that a touch earlier by going for the Hellions, not the Hellions, the Vikings, because Vikings are a good air unit, especially when you're starting to spread out very, very slowly as Mech. It becomes hard to bounce between all these locations at once. And I don't think that getting Marine Marauder suddenly is a good idea, because they require quite a lot of time and momentum to do that. So really, Vikings are just a good option to flow into your Mech, and also they're just good units because they fly, they can kill off the Overlords. Especially later in the game, people are really not going to be getting that much anti-air until they start getting Corruptors and occasionally a lot of Mutalisks once they see that that's what you're doing is getting a lot of Vikings. But Viking count is great, like shuts down Broodlords. Even if they start going Ultralisks, you still have the ability to move around a lot more and do these little landing drops. And last reason why I like Vikings is you saw how there was Hellion Harass at the start, and then there started to be Hellion drops, and then you can start doing Viking drops. It just keeps along with this theme of gotta harass some more, gotta harass some more, gotta harass some more. So, now I want this to be a lesson. Oh, sorry, I forgot the other thing. Oh yeah, if you go Vikings and you start upgrading them, then you can just easily transition into battle cruisers, and that's very tough for a Zerg to deal with. Like, super, super, super tough to deal with. And I did want to also spend just a brief period of time talking about the Infestor usage, throwing down those infested Terrans, because a lot of people still like making fun of them, but there's one thing that I saw recently in a Zerg vs. Terran that just blew my mind. I forgot the fact that infested Terrans are launched a distance, which means that if there's some high ground location or some valley, most people are like, oh god, I gotta get air units to get up there, or oh, I gotta get speed links so I can run there, and then I have to make a lot of them. Ugh. But if you just get infestors fast, and he does a tank drop, you just lob some infested Terrans up there, and then bam, you've already shot down everything that's up on that high ground. It's so effective, and as a result, you can end up doing these fast infestor plays that work beautifully. So, I also saw this totally kick-ass thing. This is great. I saw a Zerg, fungal growth, a pack of Marines, and lob an infested Terran on top of it, and the tanks shot the infested Terran and killed all the Marines. Oh, that was so awesome. Alright, let's see. Let us take some questions. Zek says, so basically you never get into a direct battle with your opponent and instead harass and